Alright, day 88 near Palmerton. Chief just dropped me off. I said goodbye to him, but we will be seeing each other again for sure after our hikes are done. So yeah, this trail just kind of comes right off the highway, and it's a bit hard to find. And so this is that big, there's a big climb out of here. I'm gonna have to put my poles away and do some hand over hand stuff. As I understand, I have never been here before. This trail is steep and getting steeper. This is a conglomerate, so it's a rock made from other older rocks. So the geologic history of the conglomerate is one thing, and these older rocks have their own geologic history, which is pretty cool. That's the level. Guy up there is climbing up in bare feet. And part way up here, that's the ridge I came off yesterday afternoon. Across that bridge. Okay, I've done the worst of it. This is still class 4 rocks right here, but it's gusty winds, and the steep part back there, the scale I developed doesn't really apply. There's definitely you have to put your poles away. You have to make sure you have those 3 points of contact, and it's not for the faint of heart, but it doesn't last too long. First challenge of the day successfully navigated. There's some pretty nice class 1 path up here. So I'm going to ride up this rockiness scale, and I expect everyone to adopt it so that it becomes a standard. And then we're going to get someone to walk the whole trail again and apply a number to each, let's say, 1/10 of a mile. And so we can finally objectively evaluate just how rocky Pennsylvania is in comparison to any other place. I think the reputation is overblown, but you know, it's fun to say Rocksylvania. I've come to a fence here, and if you look at those trees, they all have little white things as identifiers, and I suspect this is a remediation zone where they've replanted trees. Maybe they've added something, or maybe they've stripped soil, or maybe they've added limestone or something to change the pH. I'd have to look into exactly what they've done, but I'm kind of at a corner of a fence, and so I suspect this is part of the Superfund site that's still being addressed over the long term. And these Superfund sites, you know, even when they're crossed off the list, and there is a list, so to speak, they have to undergo reviews every 5 years to ensure that the cleanup has been or continues to be effective. So I'm not sure when that ends, but pretty much goes on in perpetuity as far as I understand. Woo! Folks have been beating this trail into submission with the sledgehammer. You talk about a hard day's work at the mines. Who's doing this? Good job. There is activity going on at that zinc smelter area. I don't know if they're smelting zinc or doing something else. Can't really tell from here, but there is signs of activity. Gonna have to look into that. Here's a pretty good view of it. And so you can see there's 3 kilns there. It's hard to say if they're all operating or not. So those things will rotate slowly, and what they're doing is they're basically volatilizing the zinc out of some sort of raw material, and then cooling it down, and that zinc will condense. And of course, it's not just zinc. There's going to be other metals that do the same thing, and so they have to capture it, and they have to make sure none of it gets released, and then they do whatever they're going to do with the zinc. And facilities like this I've seen before. There's one in Tennessee, and they use baghouse dust from mini mills, so mini steel mills, the ones I talked about yesterday, as a raw material, and they heat that up in those kilns, and it volatilizes certain metals, and then they condense again, and that's how they get the zinc out of it. There's a facility in Tennessee that I looked at years and years ago, very poorly operated, and you would see plumes of smoke actually go through the neighborhood near where a school was, and the kids were actually walking through it. It was a bad situation, but hopefully this facility is well run. You know, it's hard to tell unless you go and look at it very closely, and you know, that was part of the work I used to do for facilities like this. Deep Dish told me about this place. He stayed in the hostel with Chief and I last night. He told me about this place since he had hiked in from the north, where you had both the electrical humming and also the wind whipping against these wires and making this eerie sound. He said it sounded post-apocalypse. It does seem barren. It does seem like Mad Max is going to come riding over the hill. It's tough to go on these Class 2 rock sections when there's a perfectly flat gravel road 50 yards to my left that basically parallels it. It's a little hard to tell, but this is verging on Class 4. But if you look this way, the rocks have been shifted and leveled out to make it much easier, so it's been improved. So thank you for all the work trail maintainers have done here to make this section nicer. Class 4 rockiness. It's pretty steep up. Catching a little sunset through the trees. Cooking dinner over here. I'm at a campsite. And my tent is set up over there because there's better protection from the wind, which is kind of whipping through here. Woo, it's cold tonight. I think it's going to get down into the 30s and it's windy. So wrapping up the day, 19.4 miles hiked from Palmerton to not too far before Wind Gap. And so I'm set up. I've only got 17 or so miles to go to complete Pennsylvania and get to Delaware Water Gap. So I'm excited about that. And I have a real nice campsite here. The sun is starting to go down. And I am all situated, about to eat my dinner.